Hey everybody, I'm Liz, this is Sarah, and we are the Super Sisters. We are real life sisters, in case you don't know us by now, and we're also personal trainers. So we're here today to share with you all the form tips. Refer back to this video anytime that you need it. Form is always key, safety first, be smart, be safe in your exercises, and use these tips to help you learn each move. Alright, so the first move we're going to break down is the squat. It's one of the most fundamental movements that you can do, and it's great for your core and your lower body and your posterior chain, which is all the muscles that run down your backside. Her feet are going to be about hip width apart or slightly wider with toes slightly turned out to the sides. So from there, she's going to sit her hips back like she's sitting back into a chair, and her knees stay stacked right over her ankles. The knees never pass the toes, okay? So your hips want to go back that way instead of knees going forward that way. Now, Sarah has a really great range of motion here because she's been squatting for a very long time. If you can only get to here with knees behind the toes, that's as far as you should go. If you can get to legs parallel with the floor, that's as far as you should go. But full range of motion is all the way down. You do have to build up to that though. So those are a couple of modifications that you can make. Now, if you watch also, her knees are not caving inward. They're pressing outward, like she has maximum torque on the outside part of her foot without her foot actually lifting up into the air. But she is pressing her knees outward, and that helps engage your medial glutes, which will help you get down and up in the squat. Her weight is also in her heels, so she should be able to wiggle her toes throughout this entire movement. Now, she's also engaging her core, sucking her belly button in towards her spine. Her shoulders are rolled back and down, so to get that back and down motion, just try a couple of shoulder rolls and hold it at the very back and bottom of that position. It's going to pop your chest out a little bit, but you tuck that in by squeezing the abs, making sure everything's engaged. Then you go as down as slow as you can go. Shoulders stay back, chest stays up, eyes stay forward. Those are the basic cues that you need to know in your squat. So make sure that you keep the form safe and only go the depth that you're able to go with good form. Alright, so let's go over the form for a proper plank motion. So in your plank, Sarah's going to demo it for us again. Thanks, Sarah. Get on down. She's got her shoulders stacked right over her knuckles, alright? So she's not out here where her shoulders are over her fingers, and she's not way back here where her hips are lifting up. Alright, she's stacked right over those knuckles. Her hips, again, are straight in line, so she's forming a solid plank with her body. So her hips aren't too high, and they're not too low, dipping down, putting pressure on her low back. They're tight here because she's squeezing her abs and engaging her glutes and her legs, and so she's able to maintain that solid plank position. So notice her eyes are also on the floor. She's not cranking her neck back or dipping down and losing this motion here. So look, check that out. When she dips her shoulders and she doesn't actually press through her palms, the whole upper back sinks down and her shoulder blades become really, really weak. So you want to avoid that. Make sure you're pressing through your palms, fingertips are wide, grip is solid, eyes on the floor, hips in line, and the legs are straight. Okay, so those are your basic tips for plank. If you're brand new to doing a plank position, you can also drop your knees, but still maintain all of the rest of the integrity of the structure here by keeping your abs solid, hips in line, shoulders stacked, eyes on the floor, okay? This also will help alleviate if you have any wrist issues. It will help alleviate so that there's not so much pressure on the wrist joint if you have your knees down, because it makes your lever shorter, making it a little bit easier for you to hold. So let's go over the form information you need to know about a push-up. If you're an absolute beginner, you're going to want to do these against the wall until you can build up the strength in your chest and your arms and your upper body and your core to be able to do them in a lower plank position. So we're going to start on the wall. For those of you who are brand new to push-up, your hands are going to be in line with your chest height, okay? So from there, you're going to walk your feet away from the wall, tuck your abs in, tuck your pelvis under, and squeeze your core so that, again, you still have that solid plank position. From there, externally rotate your shoulders back and down, and then bend your elbows to bring your chest close to the wall. Good, make sure when you go down, you don't let your low back arch, okay? So again, keeping that solid core. If you're more experienced and a little bit stronger in the upper body, you're ready to take your push-up down to the ground. So you can either do this up on an elevated surface, which will make it a little bit easier. You can keep your knees on the ground if you want to, as long as you're able to still keep the rest of the body in that solid plank position with the pelvis tucked and the abs tight. Or you can do a full push-up here. Couple of modifications. If you take your feet a little bit wider, it is going to be easier. So these are ways to progress your push-up. She's going to go all the way down and all the way back up. Alright, so notice here she leads with her chest. So chest goes down to the floor first, and back up. And this doesn't change, so she doesn't lose it and get a low back arch there. Yes, that's no good. Don't do that. All right. Instead, she keeps her abs nice and tight. The rest of the body stays still. The thing that's working here is the upper back and the chest. All right, so one of the most common mistakes that we see all the time is people leading with the forehead first instead of the chest. Look at how that affects the shoulder blades here, and everything starts to dip and get out of alignment. What you want to do is think of leading with your breastbone right in the middle of your chest to the floor, chest to deck as they say, all the way down, full range of motion, all the way back up. Again, remember, you can take your feet wider, drop your knees, lift your hands up onto a surface, or do them on the wall to regress that movement. In the push-up, always make sure that your core is flexed, your glutes are flexed, your legs are strong, your arms are strong, and your shoulders are back and down, okay? Abs tucked. If one thing is off, it'll throw the whole rest of the body out of alignment and it'll cause problems down the road. It may not hurt today, but down the line, if you're not able to build up the proper biomechanics and work on the strength working together in the body, then that's a recipe for disaster. So make sure that you progress wisely. Again, train safe, train smart. We're gonna go over the burpee really quickly. So basically what a burpee is you're going down to plank and then back up to standing as quickly as you can with good form. So there's a couple modifications we're gonna show you here. One is a plank burpee, so it doesn't include a push-up at the bottom, all right? And she goes down into a plank, she steps or jumps back into her plank position and then back up to standing. Jump at the top is optional. So these are ways to make it more challenging for yourself. Show them a step version where you step back. This is a more beginner version, a little bit less impact here, and no jump. Okay, but then the full burpee into the plank, she hops back, solid plank, hops back up, knees stay together nice and tight, and then vertical jump at the top. If you're really advanced and you want to really push yourself, try a competition burpee, which is chest all the way to the floor and back up with the hop. Alright, so that's only if you've done burpees before and you're very experienced. Competition burpees are killer. In your burpee, if you're not able to keep your knees together between your toes as you jump or step back, a modification you can do for that instead is to just take your feet out wide. Alright, drop your hips and then stand up. So the wider your feet are, it's a little bit easier to get down and up. Okay, so here we are at mountain climbers. So Sarah's going to come down into a plank position. Mountain climbers are awesome for your core and also your shoulders because you're having to hold that plank the whole time. So there's a couple of versions here. Level 1, you're going to be doing a slow tap. So tap your feet, tap, and back, and tap. So she's alternating feet, nice and slow, no rush here. Next level, she's going to take it up and remove the tap and just be knee, 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 knee to chest. Okay, so those are fast and intense. Again, making sure her hips aren't rising. Everything is nice and tight. The hips are solid, hips squared up with the ground, shoulders squared up with the ground. Again here, she's pushing through her palms to keep out a nice solid locked position in the upper body, and then the knees are going to the chest. Good job, Sarah. Most importantly, in her mountain climbers, shoulders stacked right over the wrists or the knuckles, and the hips are in line in that solid body plank position. If you are super advanced and you're ready to take it up a notch, you can do a full mountain climber where the foot comes outside of the hand, and she's going to alternate, trying to keep those hips as low as she can. So don't let the hips rise up too far. And this is super intense. If you do 20 seconds of these, you'll see what we mean. So only do this if you're very advanced and you have a super strong core. Good job. Last but not least, we want to make sure you know the good form for anything related to triceps. So we're going to come into a dip. You're going to come into a crab or tabletop position is what they call this. You're going to rotate your fingers so that they point towards your feet. All right? From there, let's actually turn you around so that you're facing this way, because I really want you guys to see what the elbows look like in this position from here. So her elbows are parallel, all right? And she's not going to let them flare out to the sides like this. That's the most important, most common mistake that we see, is not keeping those elbows parallel in line with the shoulders. She's going to lift her hips up. Everything else stays the same. Core is engaged, shoulders are strong, elbows stay together. She dips down, bending the elbows in the triceps, and stays strong with that motion. So she goes down and up, exhales as she comes up, inhales as she lowers, and keeps those elbows nice and tight locked into her body.